country.
A massive search continues for a missing miner in West Virginia who got trapped Saturday when his team hit a pocket of water, triggering a massive flood. Governor Patrick Morrisey says crews are pumping out 6,000 gallons a minute.
Obviously, it's been a few days, but I can tell you this is still a rescue mission, and it's focused on trying to retrieve the miner.
The U.S. Mint in Philadelphia is scheduled to strike its very last circulating penny today. CBS's Jim Krasula.
It costs nearly 4 cents to make a penny, and President Donald Trump has ordered its cancellation. The U.S. Mint in Philadelphia has been making pennies since 1793, a year after Congress passed the Coinage Act. Over the last 100 years, half of the coins made at U.S. Mints in Philadelphia and Denver have been pennies.
The Dow is up 470 points in early trading. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
As the seasons change and routines shift, doctors say now is the perfect time for a health reset. And that means looking beyond cholesterol. Cardiologist Dr. Andrew Freeman says many heart attacks happen even when cholesterol levels look perfectly normal. The reason behind that is a hidden risk factor called inflammation.
Inflammation plays a critical role in cardiovascular disease, but it's often missed. Even people with healthy cholesterol levels can still be at high risk for heart attack and not even realize it.
Fortunately, Dr. Freeman says
whether it's a cough, a fever, or something you can't quite name, MMC Now makes care easy. Walk right in, get seen quickly, and your visit connects directly to your MMC doctor. Care you trust, with providers you know, with digital check-in and multiple locations around town. MMC Now is here when you need us.
Murfreesboro Medical Clinic.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Welcome into the Roundtable here on WGNS. Chip Walters with you from Exit Realty, Bob Lamb and Associates, and the Blue Raider Network. And today, got a good friend coming on, been friends for well over 40 years now. That goes back to our college days back in the early 1980s at MTSU. And today we welcome a man who has forecasted storms, and he has played through some storms. And it's Lew Jetton. He is a meteorologist with a blues man's soul, and he's bringing us both the science and the sound today. So we're going to be talking weather. We're going to be talking music. We're going to be talking just college days, things like that. So I hope that over the next hour that you'll find a piece of this that you'll enjoy. First of all, Lew, he is joining us from Parts Unknown. If you're watching on Big G TV today, you can see that he has the blackout curtains up and all that. But you're over in the Paducah area where West Tennessee, Western Kentucky, and where Southern Missouri all kind of come together, right?
That's right. Fulton County, Kentucky, which is the furthest west county in Kentucky, bordered by the Mississippi River to the west. And then I'm about, just a few hundred yards from the Tennessee border. And down here in God's country, I've lived here for, 32 years. No, maybe more than that. Since 1997. So what is it?
That's 28 years.
28 years, almost 30 years.
Yeah, almost 30 years. And to give folks a little of your background, your stock in trade was for a long, long time was being a TV weatherman, and we'll kind of take you back to how you got into that, and how we met was in what is now the Scott Borchetta College of Media and Entertainment. Back then, it was the mass comm department and at MTSU. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Trenton, Tennessee, which is a small town in West Tennessee. Went to Peabody High School in Trenton, and from there I was trying to decide, where did I want to go, what did I want to do, and I wound up because most of the kids that I graduated with all went to UT Martin, We called it 13th grade. So we call it. But I wanted to get out from, get a little ways away from home. And I really like the communications department at MTSU. So that's where I decided to go.
Did you have any previous broadcast experience at all, or just one of those guys who, like myself, in the dark back in the 70s, tuned the transistor radio up and down the dial, listened to everything from Cardinal baseball on KMOX to the Grand Ole Opry on WSM to rock and roll and blues coming out of Memphis?
Oh yeah. Well, see, I was really blessed when, but we used to all listen to, I just loved the radio from the moment, that I could ever recall first hearing it. And I tell people this, when I was in high school, of course, and I don't know, where you grew up and if it worked where you lived, but where I lived, after sunset, when the Clear Channel stations would come on, we would listen to WLS out of Chicago. Larry Lew Jetton and
Landecker and
John Records Landecker.
His middle name. I would stay awake at least until boogie check time, which came about 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. But he was my guy. You and I both, and and where I was, I could listen to WLAC. I grew up in Columbia, and in those days, Spider Harrison was on at night. He's now a Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer and out in California these days. But if I was up really late, I'd still hear Hoss Allen. Pitching baby chicks overnight. Or if I was up early in the morning before 6 a.m., I would hear that too. But they always talk about how the radio bug gets in your blood and the broadcasting bug. And I'm here to attest that in my case, at least, it was true.
Well, see, here's the other thing too. We would listen to WLS at night, but then in the mornings when we would get ready to go to school, we heard some fantastic shows, fantastic disc jockeys. One of which was Rick Dees.
Yeah,
Rick Dees was the morning guy
at the time,
at WMPS in Memphis, and he had the #1 morning show. And then he had a song called Disco Duck. You remember that?
I was gonna ask how many people who are listening to this do you think remember Disco Duck? But
you can YouTube it, I'm sure.
It was, of course, obviously in the mid 70s during the disco era. And but the thing was a hit.
Planning to tackle
it was a big hit. Here's the funny part: when he worked at WMPS, they told him not to play the record. They didn't want him to promote himself, and he went ahead and played the record anyway. And so they fired him. And so he walked across the street to WHBQ in Memphis. And at the time, WMPS was #1 and WHBQ was down the scale, But when Dees went over to WHBQ, the ratings flipped.
Wow.
And you really see the power of the personality as far as the radio is concerned.
Well, speaking of radio in West Tennessee, I'm curious, were you ever, I don't know if how your ages overlapped, but were you ever old enough to remember, or young enough, I guess, to hear Wink Martindale when he was on the radio in Jackson?
I did not.
He had already gone, I guess.
Yeah, he was already gone. But I did. When I was in Jackson at WBBJ, I worked there from 1983 until 1989. He had a telethon that he would do in Jackson, the Wink Martindale telethon. And I forget actually who the benefit was. It was a children's.
Was it Le Bonheur or somebody, Le Bonheur Children's Hospital, maybe?
It was something. It wasn't Le Bonheur or St. Jude, but it was another one, like a children's services kind of thing. And so I worked his telethon for several years and, got to meet him that way, just briefly, But yeah, he was, he had all of his friends would fly in to do it. He would have Tony Tennille, Johnny Mathis, all these soap opera stars as well, because he was connected with so many people. I'll never forget one that he brought in was Pia Zadora. Remember Pia Zadora?
I remember Pia. Yeah.
Yeah, he brought in Pia Zadora, and They all took part in the telethon. And
so he brought in Tony Tennille, but what about the captain?
The captain was a no-show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no captain, just Tony. I don't know whether he couldn't have both of them, or later on, I guess they couldn't stand to be in the same room with each other because they divorced and everything. Not too awful long after that, but yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of stories about things that happened with the stars at the telethon, as you can imagine, because over the years I was involved in a bunch of telethons. Carl Perkins had a telethon that he started. He's got a bunch of centers in West Tennessee for the prevention of child abuse. They really do wonderful work. And I did his telethon and got to be friends with him. And still to this day, I'm really good friends with who was his longtime band leader for like 25 years. He still lives in Jackson. But and then I did telethons in Paducah when I went to work up there. That was for Easter Seal Center in Western Kentucky, but it also benefited centers in Northwest Tennessee and Southeast Missouri and also Southern Illinois as well.
Yep. And here in the mid-state, we grew up with Channel 4 having the cerebral palsy telethon that they did themselves. And then Channel 5, of course, was part of the muscular dystrophy telethon that was part of the Jerry Lewis National Telethon. So, we don't see those quite like we used to anymore. That was, you think back on those days, that was appointment viewing that you would sit down and watch, and as they would say, the cavalcade of stars on the Jerry Lewis Telethon or whatever it might be. But you have been part of that, providing entertainment. So how, number one, you wanted to go into broadcasting. How did you find being a weatherman and a meteorologist as your niche?
Well, like I said, I graduated from college in '81, and I needed a job, Yeah. So I went to school at WIRJ in Humboldt, Tennessee, as a disc jockey and program director, and I worked there from '82 until '83, and then in '83 they had an opening. Had an opening at WBBJ in Jackson, Tennessee, which is the ABC affiliate, and at that time, they had open auditions, like a cattle call, and you would go in there, and they would, you'd fill out an application and stuff, but then they would sit you down at a typewriter. They would hand you just a fact sheet and say, okay, I want you to write a news story from this. And so, I had a lot of training when I was at TSU about how to write news. And so I did a good job writing the news story. And so they hired me and one other person as reporters, but also as backup anchors. And because I had all those years working radio, they said, okay, you're good at ad-libbing, you're going to be the backup for the weatherman. And so that's how I got into it. And I'll never forget, he took me into the studio and gave me about a 10 or 15 minute lesson on how to do TV weather. And it still to this day was the best tutorial that I ever got on how to do television weather. So I started being the backup weather person. And then it wasn't long after that, maybe 2 or 3 months, that our main weatherman, this is small town TV. He was also the news director, but he was also the weatherman. Yep. He left and took a job in Evansville. Excuse me. And so they said, okay, Lou, you're the weather person. And so I did weather. I was also co-anchor, like on the midday and the other stuff. A small place, you do everything. You do camera, you do produce, everything else. And then this went for 2 or 3 years, and then the sports director left and went to Fayetteville, Arkansas. And they said, well, you can do all this stuff. Do you want to do sports? And I said, okay. And so I was the sports director there for a couple of years too, before I went to WPSD in Paducah. And then they put me back on the weather. And so I did the weather. And then at that time, that's when we started seeing it to be specialized. They wanted not only a weather person to present the weather, but they also wanted you to be a meteorologist, And so I went back to school to become a meteorologist. And that's what I did. I went through a program that a bunch of them have gone through and still go through with Mississippi State.
Right.
And it's funny because I've got a diploma from Mississippi State. I've never been to Starkville.
Oh, wow.
It was all done. It was all done online,
Yeah.
And so then I got my certification seal or whatever you want to call it. And that was it. I did the weather for, until I left channel. And I still do meteorology today, but I do it for a radio group. I'm semi-retired, but I still do their forecasting for them. But I was a TV meteorologist until 2007. And then that's when I wanted to do something else. I wanted to make more money, to be honest with you.
And of course, so, the job that really kind of puts you in a different tax bracket is the one that you have where you help me out and provide the weather forecast on the Blue Raider Network.
That's
every
right.
week, during the tailgate and our kickoff weather every week, which we're very grateful for. And you use that opportunity. I encourage people to listen into the tailgate show and then right again before kickoff, because we insert Lew with the weather forecast, and he always does his research on whoever the opponent is and whatever town they're from, and we always get some little nugget of great information.
Yeah. That's a fun thing to do because I get to learn about different places, and that's one of the reasons actually that I did want to get back into weather years ago, and I really prefer doing the weather on the TV more than anything else. I said, because with the news, I did some really heavy news stories, like car wrecks, and things like that, people's houses burned down, and I didn't really care for it. I didn't want to put a mic in somebody's face. How do you feel? I didn't like that. But when I did the weather, I could do a couple of things. I could help people plan their day, but I also could warn them of approaching severe weather. But I also could put some personality in it and have a little fun with it. Because like I used to tell people all the time, I said, well, you're a TV meteorologist. Your number one thing to do, of course, is to warn people of severe weather. That's going to be about 20-30 days a year.
Yeah.
And then the other 300 and whatever days of the year, I said, you got to give people a reason to watch, and maybe make them smile a little bit, kind of lighten the mood, if you have a lot of bad news and things like that. So I really enjoyed that part of it.
Well, Lew Jetton is our guest today. We've talked weather and how he got into doing weather here in the first segment. He leads a double life because he's also a blues musician. And when we return, we'll talk about the blues part of his job and his life right after this. You're listening to the Roundtable on WGNS.
Whether it's a cough, a fever, or something you can't quite name, MMC Now makes care easy. Walk right in, get seen quickly, and your visit connects directly to your MMC doctor. Care you trust, with providers you know, with digital check-in and multiple locations around town. MMC Now is here when you need us.
Murfreesboro Medical Clinic.
It's the most magical day of the year, and you can watch it all live. Big G TV is where Christmas comes to life with coverage of the Murfreesboro Parade, Sunday, December 14th at 2 p.m. Brought to you by Kenneth Barrett for Sheriff, Middle Tennessee Electric, Farm Bureau Insurance, and Woodfin Funeral Chapels. See every float, every smile, and the moment Santa arrives on Big G TV. Streaming at wgnsradio.com/parade.
Sign-ups are going on right now for First Shot's Winter Basketball League in Rutherford County. Coach Andy Herzer guides kids to sharpen basketball skills and build teamwork through exciting clinics and games. Since 2003, First Shot has empowered youth to grow in mind, spirit, and body. Don't miss out. Join the fun and develop lifelong skills. Visit firstshottn.org today and register for the Winter Basketball League. That's firstshottn.org.
It's a Slick Pig barbecue, spicy wings and Brunswick stew, everything made fresh for you at the Slick Pig barbecue. There's lean smoked turkey and chicken too. Ribs so tender don't need to chew. Well, come on, folks, I'm telling you, it's a Slick Pig Barbecue. In 1920 East Main, you're gonna love the pig.
The Slick Pig Barbecue, a Murfreesboro tradition. We're talking with Peggy Parton. What have you enjoyed most about Adams Place?
The wonderful people that are here, and certainly all of those that take care of us and guide us, and they have something going all the time, and it's delightful. And the security that you feel here, it's wonderful.
This is Terry Deal. Come tour Adams Place and discover living a dream in your senior years.
Good Neighbor Events is brought to you by America Pest Control, Old National Bank, and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
I'm attorney John Day. One of our clients was operating a farm tractor when he was rear-ended by a tractor trailer. In an instant, his life was changed forever. We helped him receive a settlement that has given him financial security for the rest of his life. Now, each case is different, and we can't promise this type of result for every case. But we can promise that when you hire the law offices of John Day, we'll work hard to help you. If you think we can help, call me, John Day.
WGNS encourages you to shop local. A big recycling roundup this Saturday from 9 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon at the Smyrna Nissan Assembly Plant. This drive-through community event makes it easy to recycle your household items. That's coming up Saturday from 9 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon at gate number 5 at the Nissan Assembly Plant in Smyrna. And gate 5 is at 983 Nissan Drive. Also, Saturday brings the Arts and Crafts Bake Sale to First United Methodist Church. Plenty of delicious home-baked goods, along with a big craft sale, too. That's from 8 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon this Saturday at First United Methodist Church, 265 West Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. Also Saturday, the Autumn Open House at Farrell Hollow Farm, Senior Horse and Cat Sanctuary. That'll be 10 until 2 this Saturday, and the Farrell Hollow Farm is at 5323 Farrell Hollow Road in Reedyville. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
We'll see sunny skies here this afternoon with a high in the mid-60s. Tonight, mostly clear, low near 36. Thursday, sunshine high of 65. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki from the WGNS Rutherford Weather Center. Currently, it's 48.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. MTE's EV Ready program provides members with $50 in bill credits toward the installation of wiring to support 240-volt charging in their garages. Learn more at driveev.com.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Welcome back into the Roundtable here on WGNS. Chip Walters with you, and Lew Jetton, our guest. You hear him locally as our meteorologist on the Blue Raider Network during football games, but we've talked about his TV work in Jackson and over in Paducah. But at the top of the show, we talked about how he has talked about weather, but he is also has sang through some storms in people's lives with blues music, and we're talking Memphis blues and Delta blues. So when people hear those phrases, there are different kinds of blues music, but the West Tennessee, North Mississippi, that's what you specialize in, right?
Yeah, well, see, I was raised not far from Memphis,
Yeah,
and I say this, and it sounds hokey and everything, but it's actually true. When I was a little kid, way little, like 4 or 5 years old, and I would try to get out there and help out, and I actually did pick cotton by hand, and we're out there and I'm with the field hands, and we're singing, and that's how it kind of gets into your body and everything. And so I always carried that with me, that love of especially Memphis, because I came up at the same time. We had Stax, we had Al Green, we had Elvis, of course, all of that stuff. Charlie Rich, all the Sun Music, Sun Records stuff, and then Stax and everything coming up in Memphis. And so that was a part of me too as I was growing up, and it really affected me and stayed with me. And then as I got older, I started digging more of the North Mississippi Hill Country stuff of, R.L. Burnside and Junior Kimbrough and that type of stuff. And in fact, through later years, and I didn't start playing guitar till I was in college at MTSU, which is
really
rare. I didn't start till I was 19.
Yeah.
But everybody would go home on the weekends. I'm there by myself. I don't have anything to do. So I'm playing guitar 8-9 hours a day. And that's how you pick something up. But also the great thing about going to school at MTSU during those times, you could walk down the dorm and everybody's playing guitar, everybody. And so you're all jamming and you're learning stuff from them. And the kid that taught me first starting out playing guitar was a kid named David Coleman. He was a really good guitar player. And on weekends, he would get on the bus and play guitar behind Louise Mandrell and R.C. Bannon. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And those cats were all over the place, back then. And so you learn a lot from those. And so when I had to get out and get a real job, I kind of put the guitar up and that was it. And then years later, this is a story a lot of people you hear from a lot of guitar players. Years later, I got a divorce. And so I didn't have anything to do, and so get the guitar back out from under the bed and, woodshedding because I'd lost a lot of it. So I had to get back to where it was. And then one day I would go to a music store because I didn't have anything else to do. And I'm playing in a music store and this guy had a band and he said, hey, I could use a rhythm guitar player. Would you like to play in my band? And I said, sure. Yeah, I don't have anything to do. And so I started playing with this band called 61 South, which I'm still in to this day.
It later became Lew Jetton in 61 South.
Well, the reason it became that was I was working in television, and I think it was the drummer. He said, hey, if we put your name on it,
you had a little name recognition.
Get name recognition, we might get more gigs, and so we did, and it worked. But I always tell people now, they go, why did you name the band 61 South? And I go, well, I didn't, they already had the name when I joined, So I joined them and I was playing rhythm guitar and I might do 1 or 2 songs a night, and then
like
the lead singer, frontman, he split for New Orleans
them this time?
So then they came to me and says, would you like to be the singer? And I said, why not? I don't have anything else to do. So that's how that started. And that was, Chip, that was 30 something years ago.
Well, and you do something with your voice when you sing to make it a little extra gravelly, that kind of that really fits the blues motif, I guess would be one way to say it.
Well, I did for years because I've had people ask me this recently. They, in fact, I was on a blues cruise. This is several years ago. And I had a bass player that was on the cruise. He knew some of my original songs.
Yeah.
And so he goes, man, let's play some of your songs. And so I played some of my songs. And then at the end of it, it was funny. This guy came up and he's got his phone out. He's got it on Spotify. And he's pulled me up on Spotify. He goes, this is the guy whose songs you were singing. He said, have you ever heard of this guy? You were singing his songs. And I said, well, actually, that's me,
Yeah.
And he goes, well, you don't sound like yourself. And I said, well, I quit smoking. Maybe that's, but actually that is what it is. I quit smoking, 10 or 11 years ago. And I wish I'd quit years earlier. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I did quit smoking. And I was telling somebody about this the other day, within 6 months, I was hitting notes that I hadn't hit in 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And within a year, I was hitting notes I had never hit before in my life,
Wow.
And so it made a big difference. So I actually sound different, a little bit different now than I did on some of those recordings,
Well, you happen to have your guitar with you today. And, and you talked about original songs. I'm going to make a request here. And we already referenced Disco Duck being a novelty song. You've got one that is a novelty song that you wrote. It's probably your most popular song that you have ever written, but the distribution that you would love to have on it is never going to happen. And now there's a story to that, because the name of the song is Waffle House Woman. And there are a lot of people, including myself, who emailed Waffle House hoping to get your song on the jukebox, but you're not going to be able to hear it in Waffle Houses, but you're going to be able to hear it here today.
There you go. And that's another story. To get onto the Waffle House jukebox, of course, they don't have a regular jukebox anymore. It's one of those digital internet things streaming. It's called touch tunes.
Right.
And they pull the music from Pandora. And for the longest time, I was not on Pandora. I am now. But anyway, but they won't play it. One of my friends, I was telling you, was in the Nashville Waffle House earlier this year. And he said, hey, can you play Waffle House, this song, Waffle House Woman? Do you have it on your jukebox? And they said, no. And they said, well, you really should put it on your jukebox, this Waffle House Woman song, because it's really funny. And you know, I know the guy that did it and everything. And it's really funny. You should put it on the jukebox. And the manager of Waffle House said, sir, we're aware of the song and we're not going to play it. And I think it was probably one line that's probably stopped. Well, maybe one or two lines have probably stopped him.
All right. Well, you're the folks who are listening and watching here, you get to hear it. Here he is, Lew Jetton with Waffle House Woman.
Well, I got me a little woman and she's all that. Little yellow apron and a little paper hat. She's my Waffle House woman. Waffle House woman. She gives me loving to go with a sweet jelly roll. She's my Waffle House woman. She takes my order from across the room. All that good loving and I dust my broom. She's my Waffle House woman. Waffle House woman. Loving to go with a sweet jelly roll. She's my Waffle House woman. She gets off work about 4:45. Loves me over easy with the grits on the side. She's my Waffle House woman. Waffle House woman. Loving to go with a sweet jelly roll. She's my Waffle House woman. 300 pounds or at least in the zone. But you know what? She ain't fat, man. She's just big boned. She's my Waffle House woman. Waffle House woman. Loving to go with a sweet jelly roll. She's my Waffle House woman. Loving to go with a sweet jelly roll. She's my Waffle House woman. Loving to go with a sweet jelly roll. Scattered, smothered, covered all night long. She's my Waffle House woman.
All right.
There you go.
With Waffle House Woman right there. So what inspired you to write that song? Obviously, well, number one, that's some pretty good dorm room picking right there on the old guitar. But I would imagine late night after a gig, driving somewhere in West Tennessee might have been the inspiration there.
Actually, I was doing a story. They had me doing some travel entertainment kind of stories. And I was at the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville during open mic night.
Yeah.
And, you know, they put everybody's name into a basket and draw it out, you know. And there was a comedian there who, he was a comedic, but he played a lot of songs, like funny songs. And
Kinda
he would try
like Tim Wilson, kind of.
Yeah. And he would try the stuff out at the Bluebird during open mic night. And if it worked, he would put it in his act. And he played a song about his woman had left him and, done him wrong and all this kind of stuff. And then one day he was driving through Alabama, and he stopped at a Waffle House, and there she was. She was working as a server, as a waitress in the Waffle House. And he goes, you know what? Revenge don't get any sweeter than this. So it got me to thinking. I said, okay, Waffle House woman. Because I'm just like anybody. I love a Waffle House. I used to eat the one in Murfreesboro all the time when I was in college. And
we are now a 7 Waffle House town. Did you know that?
Oh no!
Yes.
Well, I knew it'd been growing, but I think when I was there, maybe it was only 2.
That's right.
But yeah, I used to be. What's crazy? I don't even remember the street. I know it was not far from the interstate.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but well, I guess all of them are not far from the interstate.
Well, we now have 2 that are within a half mile of campus.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
walking
residential Waffle Houses.
There you go. But I mean, you gotta love a Waffle House, and so and I had a good relationship with them, and so I did the song, and then it got picked up by XM. The Bluesville channel on XM, and that whole album actually, but especially Waffle House Woman. And there was another song that they picked up. And so it picked up from there. And at the time, the program director and everything for XM's Blues channel was a guy named Bill Wax. And I'm still friends with him to this day. And because I always joke with him, I said, Bill, you paid my house off, because at that time, my wife then was ill. She couldn't work. And so I was really, humping it, playing gigs left and right and working my regular job, everything, trying to pay the bills and to pay the mortgage. And then, but the royalties from that song in particular helped to make my house payments for a period of time. And all summer long, in fact, it was up at the top of the XM rotation. So it really did it was my biggest seller as far as making money was concerned. Yeah. But led to bigger and better things. Got our foot into the door to some bigger festivals and things,
Yep. And we will talk about that. And one other of your CDs, or I still call them albums, is the one called Rain.
I
love it. I love it. And it's in every song on there basically is about rain or something. It's pretty fun. But Lew Jetton is our guest today, and we will step aside, be back with our, believe it or not, our final segment coming up after this here on WGNS.
Whether it's a cough, a fever, or something you can't quite name, MMC Now makes care easy. Walk right in, get seen quickly, and your visit connects directly to your MMC doctor. Care you trust, with providers you know, with digital check-in and multiple locations around town. MMC Now is here when you need us.
Murfreesboro Medical Clinic.
It's the most magical day of the year, and you can watch it all live. Big G TV is where Christmas comes to life with coverage of the Murfreesboro Parade, Sunday, December 14th at 2 p.m. Brought to you by Kenneth Barrett for Sheriff, Middle Tennessee Electric, Farm Bureau Insurance, and Woodfin Funeral Chapels. See every float, every smile, and the moment Santa arrives on Big G TV. Streaming at wgnsradio.com/parade.
When the weather turns bad, minutes, even seconds matter.
This is an early heads up for southern Rutherford County.
Rutherford Weather brings you live radar and expert meteorologist insight, giving you the early heads up when storms threaten.
A lot of areas are going to see some impacts from this storm.
From an hour.
Ajapong, the lead pastor of Holy Hill Chapel in Murfreesboro.
Hear our sermons on WGNS every Sunday night at 7:30.
Everyday life, never take it for granted.
Visit Holy Hill Chapel, tn.org to hear our podcast.
It's a blessing.
This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb and Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
Are you tired of feeling like just another number with your insurance provider? At Rayburn Insurance Agency in Smyrna, Agent Rick Hall prides himself on offering personalized service that puts you first. Every client's needs are unique. From personal home and auto coverage to tailored business insurance, Rick Hall's got you covered. Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency in Smyrna, where you're more than just a policy number. You're a neighbor.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Welcome back into the Roundtable. Final segment today with Lew Jetton. And in our last segment, we talked about how Waffle House Woman was the springboard to some pretty big things in his music career and playing the Delta Blues all across the Southeast and on cruise ships and other places like that. So kind of you talked about that song opening some doors and some festivals. Kind of give us an idea of some of the places that you got to play.
Well, it's been, I really have a blessed life, Chip, because I'm through, it's like anything else that you do. You network with people and you meet people and all these other things, and I'd met this keyboard player. I saw him play at several festivals that I also played at, and he was playing behind some of these big cats, and so I got to be friends with him. He was the keyboard player for Chuck Berry for about, the last 20 whatever years of Chuck's life. And he came up, he said, we do this weekly gig at Blueberry Hill here in St. Louis that Chuck does. He said, do you want to come up and open for Chuck Berry? And I said, did I? And so that was really, really cool. And one of the coolest things about it was that we went up there and we're doing our sound check at about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and playing some blues stuff, playing our stuff, Then all of a sudden from the back, out walks Chuck Berry. And he sits right down in front of me on the front row, puts feet up on the stage right in front of me, and listens to about 3 or 4 different songs. And that was really cool. Then he got up and wandered back to the back. And we finished our sound check, and the owner of the place come up to me, and he goes, I just want to tell you, he said, in all the years we've been doing this gig, he said, you're the first band he has ever come out to actually listen to their sound check. And I thought, well, that's really cool. Now, I don't think he did it because he's going, hey, Lou's here. I got to go. I don't think it was that. I think he got to the venue early and was just kind of, wanted something to do. So he says, oh, I'll go see these guys, something like that. But that was cool.
Obviously, he liked what he heard in the first tune. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed around
for
the other
there
two.
You go.
Yeah.
There you go. But I've gotten to, I'm more or less what we call a table setter, at a lot of these festivals. I've opened for, that's what's funny is I always say, you've been around a long time when you've opened for not only Junior Kimbrough and R.L. Burnside, but also their children. And in one case, one of their grandchildren over the years. And I would tell them that and they would go, I remember I opened for Cedric Burnside at Ground Zero in Clarksdale, Mississippi, which was a really cool job. And I was talking
That's right there at the crossroads.
Oh, yeah. And I was talking to Cedric Burnside, and I said, years ago, I said, I opened for your I think it was his father. Yeah, I opened for your father. I said, I learned a lot of stuff from him. And Cedric says, oh, I did too. Like that. Because that's those guys, there was something about those two in particular had a really dramatic effect on me, along with people like, Chuck Berry, and I'll say some names probably a lot of people aren't familiar with that I've also opened for, like Coco Taylor, Luther Allison, the Nighthawks, all these kind. But they've also had me open for some other acts sometimes, which I didn't always make sense. Like they had to do a show one time. I opened for Juice Newton. You remember Juice Newton?
Yes.
Yeah. I opened for Juice Newton, and I played one time. I did the telethon, and they had me on the same stage, like catty corner with
Did you
a country
call her
singer.
Angel of the Morning?
Yeah. They had me on another one. They had me with Michelle Wright, which was a country singer who was hot for several years, and it was so funny because at that time I was going through a lot of band members, and to be honest with you, some nights were better than others. Some nights I would kill it, some nights kind of but anyway, I killed it that night. I did really good, and so I played. They went to a break, and then Michelle Wright is on the other stage, and in between she comes walking over, and she said, "I don't want to follow you anymore." But she's just being sweet,
Right.
But it was real. It's really cool to play. And I tell you, one of the guys that I used to hang out with backstage for a couple of shows, and it was one of those cats where you just love to listen to their stories. One of them was Carl Perkins, but another one was Boots Randolph. You remember Boots Randolph?
Yakety Sax fame.
Yakety Sax. And I would ask him.
And when we were in school, he still had his club in Printer's Alley.
Oh, yeah. But let me tell you something. That guy was a hoot. Man, he was so funny. And he would tell all these stories and stuff, and about, the old days, and Jerry Reed and all these cats, and I asked him, I said, do you ever get tired of playing yakety sax? And he goes, "Oh no." He said, "Lewis," he said, "that's the old well that just keeps on pumping." Which is, I'm sure.
I wonder what he made on the royalties
just from Benny Hill,
from the Benny Hill show.
Yeah.
Just from the Benny Hill show.
Because those things, that's still in syndication, I think.
I'm sure it is, and it's all over YouTube. How many studio albums have you done?
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think.
Okay.
The first one was right around 2000, and then came Tales from a Tulane, which is the one that had Waffle House Woman on it.
Yep.
And that was in about 2006. And then I didn't do anything else until 2015 or 16. That was when Rain came out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually did a Christmas EP.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. And then the last one that I put out was kind of depending on how you look at it, either best of or worst of. It was called Deja Hoodoo, and it was all original stuff, from the previous albums.
That's right, and the Rain CD, that's probably about as close to a concept album as you ever had.
I wanted to touch on several things. One was of course the weather type theme, but also there's a song or two about my late wife. There's one on there that I have a hard time playing live, to be honest with you. And I've left out one of the albums I did. There's another album I did too, which was called Palestine Blues, which actually is named after
Palestine, Illinois, right?
No, Palestine. There's a little community like a mile or two from my house.
Okay.
Where they have Palestine, and they've got Palestine Methodist Church, which is abandoned now, and a cemetery. But that little community that's the nickname for it, is Palestine. So I wrote the Palestine Blues, and a lot of it's kind of a concept thing too, but it's a lot more darker type subjects. But Rain is probably, I guess, it depends. Some people like one better than the other. It's just being, some people like Rain the best. Some people like the Tales from a Tulane the best. And I've had several people that they on the Palestine Blues, they said it touched them, but it's not a happy. In fact, I can't play most of those songs. I can't play them out live because it's just too depressing. And it really is. But it was therapeutic for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, as they said one time on the Andy Griffith Show, can you favor us with another selection today? And dealer's choice here. What do you got?
Okay. This one, when I always introduce this one, I say, this is how many people have a significant other that stays on their cell phone much too much? And my girlfriend always points at me, but then you've always got all these people pointing at each other, pointing at their wives or girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever. But it's called Who's Texting You?
All right, here we go.
There you go with your phone again. Ask who it is, say just a friend. You text all night till 3:45. I never had a friend like that before. Who's texting you? Who's texting you? Who's texting you? Who's texting you? You keep on sneaking off by yourself, spending more time with your BFF. Your fingers move at the speed of light. Give me that phone and we're gonna fight. Who's texting you? Who's texting you? Who's texting you? Who's texting you? You're cheating on me with a man on the phone. Matter of time for you all alone. I'm sick and tired of this disrespect. I think it's about time we disconnect. Who's texting you? 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 Who's texting you?
Well, I texted Lew to set up this interview for sure, but that's on the Rain CD right there. Yeah. Who's texting you? And it's so fun to be good friends with somebody and then listen to you to do all the that kind of stuff. It's just people who are in sports always want to be in music, and all the musicians want to be in sports, and that's not unlike. I mean, I envy every musician that I know, and but love to be around and hear the good stories and things like that. Changing gears just a little bit, earlier this week, you're a big sports fan. Whenever the Blue Raiders come over into West Tennessee or play at Murray State or wherever, you and I always hook up and see all that. But you went to a basketball game on Sunday and checked out UT Martin and the Lady Vols of Tennessee, who will be coming to Murphy Center coming up on the 20th of this month. So can you give Coach Insel a scouting report on the Lady Vols right now?
They're not playing too good right now. That was UT Martin led most of the first half, and they were tied at halftime at 33 apiece. And then eventually, the Lady Vols, they run in waves, platoons, and they're constantly switching out those lines, almost like a hockey team, And eventually that wore UT Martin down. And but at any rate, it was with a minute left, it was a 10-point game. And they wound up, Tennessee won by 11 points. But I'll tell you what, man, those kids I was really impressed with the kids from UT Martin. because they are nowhere near the height, nowhere near the talent. But I'm telling you what, man, they were scrappy, and they scrapped as well as anybody. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when they come to MTSU. And I was telling my sister, I said, because she's planning on going to the MTSU Lady Vols game, and I might be there as well. But I was telling her, I said, I watched MTSU the other day on TV. I said, they've got a girl who's 6'10".
Yep.
And I said, oh Lord, she's a tall drink of water.
Yes, she is. But when she is progressing, a young lady from the Canary Islands.
Wow.
Tenerife is where she's from, actually.
Oh, wow.
We've got 1 minute left. And what would be the dream gig for Lew Jetton and 61 South? If you could play one gig out there and just pick one, what would it be?
Gosh, I don't know. I'd like to open for Paul McCartney on this tour.
Well, he was just in Nashville the other night.
Yeah,
so.
Just missed him at the Pinnacle. I was going to go, but the tickets were like $1,800 a piece.
Exactly. You know where I think you would be a good fit as maybe opening up at the Crossroads Festival for Vince Gill and all those guitarists and all that.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
that would be great. That would be great.
If
Bonnaroo
do that, I'm going with you. Okay.
Yeah, Bonnaroo or the Crossroads Festival or any of those. But I'll tell you, Chip, I'm so blessed that I've gotten to play with so many of my heroes. I played in the Pro Jam with Joanna Connor on one of the blues cruises, who was one of my guitar heroes going all the way back to the 1990s. And it's just, I've just been very, very fortunate and very blessed.
Well, we've blessed us today with your appearance, and this hour went super fast, and can't wait to see you back in town and back on campus again very soon, and appreciate you so much, and thank you for taking time out of your weekend and the week to do this for us.
Well, thank you. And I've got one more gig this coming weekend, and then I'm taking some time off. In fact, I may not play again until February, and so I'm going to really try to make an effort to get down there to at least one game. Because it's so funny, the place has changed so much from when we were there.
Yeah.
But my little sister, for 30 years, was a biology professor at MTSU. She just retired in June, I believe. But what was crazy was when she was hired at MTSU, she took the place of the retiring biology professor who taught me, Dr. Strobel. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. And life, the world becomes a lot smaller for sure. Lew Jetton has been our guest today on the Roundtable. If you missed any of this, you can catch it in the podcast section of wgnsradio.com. Stick with us all day right here on the Big G, WGNS.
Subscribe to Big G TV, local content that matters to Rutherford County.